Dividing natural numbers, long division.
Welcome to Mark's Math Methods.
There are three types of results. You can get quotient and remainder, you can get a mixed number, or you can get a decimal. Before we actually go into the process, this is what the types look like. If I want to take 7 and divide it by 2, if I do quotient and remainder, I get 3 remainder 1. A mixed number would be 3 and 1/2. And as a decimal, I would write it as 3.5. Let's start with quotient and remainder and mixed number, since they're very similar. Example 1, 14 divided by 3. That's what it means, 14 divided by 3. Or if you wanted to write it as a fraction, you would put 14 on top and 3 on the bottom. And writing it as a long division problem, 3 is divided into 14. The way I remember which one goes where is, I think, TI or Texas Instruments, top inside. So when I look at the fraction, I say the 14, the top goes inside. So it's 3 divided into 14. So how many times does 3 go into 14? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. That's too much. 3 times 4 is 12. That's just right. So we're going to put a 4 on top. 4 times 3 equals 12. We put 12 underneath. And now we're going to subtract. 14 minus 12 gives us 2. Now we write our answer. Because we were looking at quotient and remainder or mixed number, we don't go any further. So the quotient is the 4, the remainder is the 2. So it goes in there 4 complete times with 2 left over. And if we wrote it as a mixed number, it would be 4 and 2/3. If we're looking back at the fraction 14 over 3, you can see that the denominator hasn't changed. It's still a 3. The complete number of times it goes in is the whole number part, which is 4, or the quotient. The remainder is what becomes the numerator of our fraction in the mixed number. Let's try another. 2,724 divided by 13. So 13 goes on the outside, the 2724 goes on the inside. So the question we ask, how many times does 13 go into 27? We don't try the whole number at once. It doesn't go into 2, so we look at 27. Well, it goes in 2 times. 2 times 13 gives us the 26. And now we subtract. And we have 1. Now we bring down the 2. Now we repeat the process because it's a repetitive process. So, how many times does 13 go into 12? Well, it doesn't. It goes in 0 times because 12 is too small, or 13 is too big, depending on how you want to look at it. So 0 times the 13 gives us 0. Again, we're going to follow the same process, whether we put a 0 on top or a number on top. And now we subtract. And now we bring down the next number, 4. Now we repeat the process again. How many times does 13 go into 124? Well, it turns out to be 9. 9 times 13 equals 117. Again, if you have to do your scratch work on the side, 9 times 13, then you do it on the side of the paper. And now we subtract, and we get 7. And now since we were looking at quotient and remainder or mixed number, we stop. So we write our answer. It's a quotient and remainder. 209 is the quotient, and the remainder is 7. If we write this as a mixed number, 209 is the whole number part, 7 is the numerator of the fraction, while the denominator 13, the divisor, stays the same. So 209 remainder 7, or 209 and 7/13. Okay. When writing as a decimal, there are two types of instructions. Divide, or divide and round to the nearest tenth, hundredth, thousandth, so on. When it says divide, it's meaning continue dividing until it either ends or starts repeating. When it says divide and round to the nearest, that means continue dividing one place beyond or past the desired rounding point. So let's take 25 and divide it by 4. Instructions, write as a decimal. Okay? Since there's no rounding instructions, I assume it's either going to end or it's going to start repeating. First thing I need to know is how many times does 4 go into 25? Well, it goes in 6 times. 6 times 4 gives me 24. And now I subtract, and I get a 1. Notice the instructions write as a decimal, meaning it should either end or repeat. But I need to insert my decimal point and then put in my first 0. And that is what I bring down, as I bring down the 0. So now how many times does 4 go into 10? It goes in 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract. It still has not ended or repeated. In other words, my remainder wasn't a 0. Okay. So I need to insert another 0 and bring it down. So how many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. 5 times 4 gives me 20. I subtract, and I get a remainder of 0. So now we know the decimal has ended. It has terminated, because my remainder is 0. So now we can write our answer, 6.25. Let's take a look at this one. 123 divided by 7. Round to the nearest hundredth. Since I know I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to prepare my division, so I know when to stop, by adding in the decimal place and enough zeros out to one place beyond, which is the thousandth position. Now I know where I can stop when I'm doing my division. So we start with the same thing. How many times does 7 go into 12? 7 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 7 equals 7. Now we subtract. Bring down the 3. Now, you notice it looks the same as we did before, except we're just going to continue on past the decimal point. We slid the decimal point up, so we don't have to worry about the decimal point anymore. It's going to come out naturally in our question. So 7 goes into 53 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. We subtract. Bring down the 0. So now 7 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 7 gives us 35. We subtract. Bring down the next 0. So it becomes repetitive at this point. Seven into 50. 7 times 9 is 7 times 7 is 49. Subtract, bring down the next 0. That's our last 0. It's going to be our last chance to see if there's a 0 remainder, or we're just going to stop because we're going to round. Because those were the instructions. 7 goes into 10 one time. So, ooh. Okay, and now there's nothing else to bring down because we put our zeros out there as necessary in the beginning. So now we're going to round. So we have 17.571. Rounding to the nearest hundredth is 17.57.
I hope the presentation was helpful. Thumbs up, subscribe, comment. And if you have any problem types you'd like me to demonstrate, there's my address.